Today, Brian on Signal asked if we record the Saturday calls, and I was reminded of the old black and white TV show Dragnet, which always started with a disclaimer. The names and identities of those in this program have been changed to protect the innocent. And it kind of makes you wonder, like a program about crime, it kind of makes you wonder, who are all these innocent people? Welcome to Illinois Bridging Awareness. I'm Stanley Smith. And I did explain to Brian that we don't record the Saturday calls, and I guess it's for the same idea, to protect the innocent and to create a place and a space where people can have frank and honest adult conversation. But I did offer Brian I guess I could offer him a recap, but I did start with my own personal disclaimer, and I don't want to discourage anybody from attending the Saturday call, but my disclaimer was he probably didn't miss anything. And that's because most of us are on a similar journey, and we're probably finding whatever we need to fill in the pieces of the puzzle, regardless of where we are on Saturday or any day during the week. But a quick recap of this Saturday's call. Our discussion theme was intention, and we invited Maureen Riley to speak to the topic, but she unfortunately was not able to do so. But many people on the call rallied around the topic, and we had a very in-depth conversation about intention. We started off by discussing the idea that intention is different than goal setting, because goal setting is about accomplishing a particular thing or achievement or goal, a particular thing to be accomplished, but intention is more of an overarching theme for our entire lives, and it could be the idea of having the intention of truth or beauty, love, goodness, compassion, faith, hope, charity, generosity. The overarching theme of your life is more akin to intention, and that's kind of heavy when you think about it, because I explained to Brian that, I feel like oftentimes it's like we're like a giant school of fish. We're just following particular narratives and storylines, and we dart from one to the next, and that's entertaining, and it's captivating, and it does provide some nuance and some insight into topics, but probably, truth be known, it's often more of a distraction. But I follow as many narratives and storylines as everybody else, but I am honing in on the idea that we probably need to let some of those narratives go. In conjunction with intention, and the last couple Saturdays, I've been slowly trying to introduce the theme of Elizabeth Bishop's poem One Art, and the theme of that poem is about losing, and how we can all be more intentional about losing, practicing the art of losing. I did explain a couple weeks ago that, of course, none of us like to lose. None of us like to be wrong, and none of us like to be contradicted much. It's only natural, but it's something we probably can rise above, and we all experience it, and we can rise above it and then transcend it. Anya Gramone was on the call a number of times this season, and she explained to us that we all have our conscious self, which is a small circle within the larger circle of our unconscious self. Jim Downs on the call this week referred to it as our superconscious, which perhaps is more constructive. And the idea of the gap between our conscious self and our perception of the world, in that gap is the opportunity for stress and anxiety, and we need to complete the cycle of stress and anxiety so we are not always locked down and shut off from our higher super consciousness self. And this is very much akin to these narratives that we're following, like the school of fish, where we're just darting from one crisis to the next without completing the cycle. And completing the cycle, as Annie explained to us, is realizing that particular fear or concern is over. We've either fought it or fleed from it, or we've simply just removed it. And we need to return to a state of peace and calm before the next crisis happens, but we need to at least complete that cycle. We can't just be in a constant state of fear and anxiety. A theme that was shared with me on the call recently was the idea that we need to be a welcoming and hospitable space and place for our souls. So our bodies need to be a welcoming environment for our souls to reside in. And we can't welcome in and be a welcoming place for our soul if we're constantly under a state of stress, anxiety, and trauma. Other themes which have been shared this season are the idea that whenever we see ourselves in a dark place or a dark situation personally, in our community, in our family, we could see that as an opportunity to be the light. Perhaps that's what we're called to do, is be the light in these troublesome times. That was presented to me by Lily, the ex-coordinator in Oregon. Jim Downs has been on the call last couple of weeks, and he shared the idea of the positive qualities. And this week, as we discussed intention, we aligned that with the idea of values, that in many cases our intention is aligned with our values. Also, it was shared that intention can be for good or for bad. We just assume that intentions are good, but it's not necessarily so. People could choose a negative or bad intention as their life goal, and we do have to respect that. We do have to ask people what their intention is. We can't just assume it's always what we would perceive as good. Also on the call, we've explored the idea that we're on our own personal journey and we need to claim or reclaim our power. I've gotten in trouble for this when I brought this up before, because just like not being wrong or being contradicted, some people don't like the implication that they don't have their power, and that's okay. But following these different narratives and these different storylines can be disempowering, because it distracts us from our intention. So that is a theme and something to be aware of. But back to the Elizabeth Bishop poem, her idea is the art of losing. We can lean into that by simple things and enjoy losing the car keys. She calls it the fluster of lost car keys, or enjoying the disappointment of an hour badly spent. I don't think any of us want to spend an hour badly, and we certainly hope that the Saturday call is not an hour badly spent. The first hour is always followed by the conservative hour, and in the conservative hour this week, Larry shared a couple different important nuances. It's been presented to me a number of times that in any 5 or 6 truths that were presented, at least 1 or 2 of these is probably erroneous. But in the second hour this week, it was really poignant that Larry shared some really 2 important nuances on a topic, and this is an example of sometimes having to listen through 5 or more things to get to a couple real nuggets. And the things that Larry shared were the idea that we need to really embrace the idea of early voting. And I know Larry's been pushing this for quite a while, and it seemed unappealing at the time, because most of us like to think the idea that we really want to vote on election day. But Larry shared a really important nuance, and that was the idea that if we vote early, we can share the energy of that experience with others. So if we go to the polling place, see the ballot, read the ballot, fill out the ballot, and have the experience of feeling the paper, seeing the vote, seeing who the categories are, and then carry that into our conversations with others as we encourage them to vote, either voting early or on election day. Of course, Larry reminded us that early voting has already started in the state of Illinois. Larry also shared the counter-narrative that we should resist the urge to overly scrutinize the polling places on election day, and we should resist the urge to contradict or challenge poll workers and question everything they're doing, because this is going to create anxiety and stress in the polling places, which is probably going to dissuade people from voting, and none of us want to be part of that. So the big takeaways from Saturday Call, Brian, are the idea that we need to have an intention, live into our intention. We need to see ourselves as the light in the dark. We need to be aware that in the barrage of information it's hurled at us, we need to be aware that not all of it's true. We don't need to believe any of it or all of it. If we believe a couple things that work for us, maybe we're moving in the right direction. We need to definitely reclaim our power. Also, just today, someone from our group presented me to the idea that we also need to look beyond the next big event, or a solar flash, or a dramatic turn in the election cycle. And we need to see that the change needs to happen now, and we need to be the change. We need to reclaim our power, and we need to live into our intention, and we need to do it now. The beautiful part about having an intention, a life intention, is that even if you lose, your intention can still be fulfilled, because no matter what you do, if your intention is love or hope or charity or truth or beauty, it can be always fulfilled even when you're losing. I would encourage anyone to invite friends and family to the Saturday call. We're all on our own personal journey. If you're seeing people out in your personal life, ask them how they're doing on their journey, if they're seeing love, if they're seeing light coming into the world, and if they're not, encourage them to come to the call on Saturday morning. The Saturday call is every Saturday at 9 a.m. Central Time on Zoom. I will include my email in the description of this video, and I look forward to seeing everybody very, very soon.